Another prediction that I made came true. I'm not really proud, but it just happened. When you look at Florida right now and you see all of these crazy, crazy floodings in Sarasota, I'm going to show you a video of somebody actually using their kayak of actually in their living room because it all flooded. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So this video, I'm going to talk about the financials that I've seen coming and why I personally left Florida and why you might want to do the same thing and how this is going to change the whole trajectory of how you're going to buy in the state of Florida for real estate coming down the road. So first of all, huge sorry to all these people that got their houses flooded. My heart truly goes out to you. I hope that no lives were lost and the stuff that you guys lost with, collectible goods, you can always rebuy and hopefully you can, buy it again and, make new memories with it. So first of all, before we even jump into video, let's watch somebody talk about this.
Entire neighborhood just sitting in a large pool of water.
Tried to save what we could.
An absolutely heartbreaking view for Matt Jonas as he walked through his home Tuesday with floodwaters to his knees. He says after living in this house for the last 4 years through Hurricane Ian and other catastrophic storms, he never expected a tropical storm to leave this much damage.
We don't have flood insurance. So we weren't required to have flood insurance. So this is families out of their house. Gone, everything gone. We're talking water up to here. Everything's gone.
And one by one, Dalton Colony and Cody Shea lended a helping hand, taking people back into their homes to save what they can.
With, small.
Okay, we just saw this whole video and it is actually detrimental of seeing all this catastrophe, right? And I'm a pure numbers guy. For me, it is all about the bottom line, right? So when I talk about living and all that kind of stuff, I'm always trying to maximize my money. And when we look at, buying houses and, buying cars, they're associated with emotional purchases. People are emotional. But I really try to take out the emotion out of it and just make sure that whenever I do something, the dollar makes sense. And how can I invest and make sure my investments are protected? What do I mean by that? I mean, like getting the right insurance, getting all the quotes up front, making sure that I have my blind sides covered. And I talk to other professionals to see what they know. And I don't go in it thinking that I'm the smartest guy in the room and then get hammered. Because as you saw in this video, there was this one guy who said, we're not in a flood zone, but we weren't required it and I didn't have it, so now I'm destroyed. Well, the whole state's a flood zone. So you live in the swamp. And when you live in the swamp, there's flooding. And so that is just how it is. And you got, people were saying, like me on YouTube, for years now. But you were ignorant and you guys didn't listen. And you're like, hey, if I'm in a flood zone, I'm going to save $100. Well, now you have the catastrophe, right? So all that aside, now it already happened. How do you do it? Well, let's go through some numbers and see what it actually takes to live down in Florida, because this is going to change the trajectory of how you buy houses, right? So let's go over the average home price in Cape Coral, Florida, and we're going to do all these calculations. So, okay, here we go. So I took averages, right? So when I'm looking at averages, I'm looking at $420,000 house, 20% down, 30-year fixed rate with 6% interest. So your monthly mortgage payment is going to be $2,230. Not too bad, right? So now we're looking at property taxes. It's about 1% of your home. That is about $350 per month. Then you got homeowners insurance. That is about $200 to $300. And utilities are super high in Florida, so you're going to spend another $200 to $400 on utilities. And then we got landscaping, and if you're not going to do it yourself, you're going to spend anywhere from $100 to $200 a month in that. So the estimated total cost is $3,100 to $3,500 on the higher end, right? Oh, hold on. We still need to add in flood insurance, right? And HOA fees and all that is not included. So now when we add flood insurance, depending on where you are, it is even way more than that. So it is another $100 to $200, and these are just averages, right? This isn't when you live on the coast. If you live on a canal, it's going to be more, right? There's high estimates out there, and then there's lower ones. I took the average because if you live inland in Florida or you live on a little high center, then it is not so bad. So now the monthly cost comes anywhere from $3,200 to $3,700, right? So now, if I'm a lender and I want to be financially free because I haven't eaten with that, I haven't spent any money on taxes, haven't spent money on my car, and I haven't even done anything. So we want to stay in the 30% of a paycheck needs to go towards housing, right? And that associated cost, right? So how much do you need to make? Drum roll. And it is $11,933 to live comfortably in an average house, right? So now you're looking at it like, oh, that is a lot of money. And in order to do that, so let's pull up the calculator here and look at, we're going to make it easy, and we're going to do $12,000 times 12. So that is $144,000 of combined income for you to basically afford a house, or family income, or just one person, however you want to look at it. So now this is the budget, right? So if you're making $150,000, right, then you can allocate a certain budget towards housing. And what people in my comment section and most people don't understand is you always have a budget. You cannot go out and buy this big, huge car, this big, huge thing because you have a budget. And so how you allocate that budget is dependent on your lifestyle, right? And why do I say that? It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. No, it's not, because you can spend from that budget, from that 30%, that $3,000, from all these, from the mortgage payment, from utilities, whatever it is, you have a certain amount that is given, right? You got to pay utilities and you got to pay taxes, right? But what you can do is, the unknown factor is insurance. And insurance has been going up like crazy in Florida. And I've seen statistics and articles saying that they're already put in a notice that they're going to increase taxes, right? Because, no, not taxes, insurance. They're going to increase insurance by like 14%. They're just waiting for Florida state legislature to approve that. So even citizen insurance is going to go up because it's not affordable. So from that budget, right, let's make it $3,200, right? Or $3,000, whatever it is. So if you have $3,000 to allocate towards housing, it doesn't matter if you spend $2,900 on insurance and $100 on your mortgage. What is kind of ridiculous and kind of crazy, but at one point it's going to be a huge part of your home buying process and your home premium, right? So when you're going to buy that, your mortgage might be $500, $600, $700 because house prices come down, because nobody can afford it because insurance is so high, and insurance is going to be a bigger part of your house payment than your actual mortgages. And people are going to be like, God, that's ridiculous. No, it's not, because for years they've been underfunded, HOA's been underfunded, insurance has been underfunded, and all these other things. And now the bill comes due. Like I always say, the tab will always be due. The tab, regardless of where you're at, if you do shady stuff, at one point you're going to get caught. The tab will always be due, right? So it's just a matter of time till you run to a spot where it's like, oh, how we operated before isn't right. We need to adjust the budget. And then what you can do is, insurance companies, they got to pay out. They can't just do layoffs and say, we're just going to lay everybody off and then, do something. No, they're going to have to pay out all these claims. And before they're going to do that, they're going to find lawyers to represent them to not pay out, because there's so many houses that have, that had flood insurance or something, technicalities in the underwriting and whatnot. And so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the near future. And this isn't me bashing on Florida, me bashing on, you shouldn't live there, you shouldn't do this. No, you should live wherever you want to, but everything comes at a price. I'm in Vegas. It is hot in the summertime. It comes at a price, right? But I have other incentives like low property taxes and, good airports and, but it is hot. It is very hot, and it gets cold in wintertime. So this is a gamble I'm willing to take, but I do not have other natural disasters, right? And when you live in Florida and you go out boating and you do all the stuff that you want to do and you choose to live in Florida, that's something you got to deal with. with these natural disasters. And unfortunately, they always hit when it's, you know, when it's not convenient for you, right? And now, when you're looking at it, and it's another one coming, right? There's always another storm coming, and they're not getting lighter. It's not like you can say, oh, I'm just going to have less, I can start carrying less insurance because the storms are getting less and less. No, the storms are getting worse and worse. And this is not because, you can name it what you want. This is not because of global warming or whatnot. Who knows? You can name it what you want it, but it's getting worse, and people are getting hammered with these things. When you look at Fort Myers Beach that's still destroyed from 2 years ago, it's still not rebuilt. So you got to be able to have the money to rebuild it. And then there's, what a lot of people don't talk about is people from other states come into Florida and pull scams on you guys and say, oh my gosh, you're gonna, I'll redo your floors, I'll redo this, and they take a deposit and run with it. And now another huge dilemma is when you need all these floors repaired, you need to do all these repairs, is price gouging, right? They say, oh, you're gonna need your floors repaired. So what do? You're gonna call up somebody that's gonna do floor repairs, right? That's gonna rip out the tile and put new in. But guess what? He now has a row of 50 houses that need the same service as you. Normally this costs you $8,000, but now when there's more demand, supply and demand, right? You gotta pay more. And then you gotta make sure that there's no scam. And so if you're gonna negotiate a price with the contractor, he's going to say, I'm sorry, I have 4 or 5 other people that want their house done faster. They're paying a premium. So if you want to be in front of the line, you got to pay up. And this is just how it goes. And yeah, there's going to be laws that say that. But hey, supply and demand, right? Everything kind of works in that. You saw with toilet paper during that virus in 2020, right? You saw it with all these things. When there's a high supply, people charge a markup. Cars too, right? And so now you're going to be in a situation where you got to figure out what is best for your family. And I'm wondering how long Florida is going to stay on number one with migration, right? Because it has been for the last few years, but these storms are getting worse and worse. And I'm not talking about rich people. Rich people can stay there, live there, they can insure. They don't mind. They probably have second houses up in Canada, up in Michigan, up in New York. They don't care. If their house gets hammered, they have insurance. They don't care if they got to rent for the next 2 years down in Florida. They come down in the wintertime, they go back up as soon as spring hits, and they couldn't care less. But for you as a full-timer, the common average American is detrimental. And when I look at it, and it's like, oh my gosh, all these people are getting hammered. Yeah, it is the average people, because the rich, the top percentage of the people that live in Florida, they couldn't care less, Then they're like, my house got destroyed. I can't vacation down there. So I might as well just RV and go to Arizona for the next 2 years till my house is rebuilt, and I have my property manager do it. Those are people too, and and if you have the money, nobody's faulting you. But when you have mortgages that you got to pay, you got all these crazy things going on, then you got to be aware of where you are, what your financial need is, and where your financial capabilities are. And not everybody has big dollars to spend and, do all that. And most people rent from the bank. And so now, one thing that I'm also thinking is, hey, folks, listen up. You've been renting from the bank, and you might as well, all these people, and I'll bet you they'll say the same thing. If you rented a house in Sarasota and it got flooded, what do? You call up your landlord. Ring, ring. Hello? Yeah, the house got flooded. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'd rent this insurance. My property, my inside is going to be, maybe gone, maybe not. And yeah, are you going to put me up in a hotel? Are you going to help me find something? Because if not, I'm not going to pay. You can keep my security deposit. I'm out for next month. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. And they leave. And you're going to be stuck as a landlord holding the bag with something that you didn't even plan on, right? So you're going to lose rent, money, time, and it's detrimental. And for people that were renting are now coming out ahead and saying, you know what, that didn't affect me. I just find another spot, down the road. Yeah, it might not be next to my family, but so what? You can drive for 20 minutes and be in another area. So This is going to change how people buy, because people cannot spend $400,000 on houses that are going to get flooded every few years. And then they're going to blame the city. Oh, we're going to launch an investigation on how, on why the water's not draining. Who cares? Who cares? It's already flooded, and there's nothing you can do now besides paying for these people to get, to get them, repaired and get new floors and do all that. But at the end of the day, there's so many cars flooded. There's so much stuff going on that isn't working in a positive way for you as a buyer and for you to live down there. And I hate to say this, like people are like, oh, the trend isn't, in a positive way. It is not. But when you look at it, high insurance, cars got flooded, houses got flooded, contractors been scamming people. How is this a positive trajectory that people are going to say, it's a really great move for me to move down there and buy something? If somebody moves down there and says, I'm just going to rent a few years and then I'm going to, gonna pull the trigger maybe or something, then I'm like, okay, you do that. But if you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go down there and decrease my cost of living, that ain't happening. That ain't happening for sure, because you're gonna have to pay these premiums now. And I used to live down there, and I know that it used to be way, way cheaper, but we didn't have these storms as we had for the past few years. That's why I moved. So I moved to Las Vegas. Yeah, it floods a little bit, but the city's actually working on it. And, we don't have where we flood out hundreds of properties and have tornadoes and hurricanes and all that. And so this was my decision to move to a safer area with no state income tax, and yeah, you got to think about what's best for your family and your immediate circle, right? Is this sustainable, right? Is this going to be long-term sustainable? Because people said, oh, when it hit Cape Coral, people were telling me, because I still have friends down there, they told me, oh, this will never happen on this coast ever again. And now look at it, Sarasota, this was just a tropical storm. So there are things at work that aren't favorable for people living down there. So let me know in the comments what you think about all this, because man, you guys are just getting hammered down there. You guys are getting hammered. And yeah, it is super, super sad to see all that. But hey, what can you do? You'd live and you move on, I guess, and try to rebuild if that's what you really, really want to do. But how many times can you rebuild your house? Or how much longer can you be down there without hoping that your house is going to be next, right? And every time you're going to be praying that it's not going to be you that's going to get flooded. I think at one point you're just going to be tired of it. At one point you must come to the realization that this is not what I've planned on doing with my life. This isn't what I wanted to do with my family, to worry about it, pack it all up, flooding, all that kind of other stuff. And luckily there weren't, too many people that lost their lives. But, it's like there's great other places in the United States, and it's just a matter of time till Europe, right? And yeah, gorgeous place though. You have the beaches, you have, the Everglades, gorgeous, gorgeous. But financially, you got to be rich. It's becoming a state for the ultra wealthy that can afford to do repairs, that can afford to do things. And yeah, I hope you're one of them. So let me know what you guys think. And this is it for this video. So if you haven't, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, hit that bell notification so when I upload, I can, you'll get a notification and watch it. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.